Hello, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio at Phocuswright Europe, and I am joined by Guido Becher. He is Global Head of Travel at Rappi. Welcome.
Thank you, Mitra.
So let's talk a bit about Rappi. Based in Colombia, launched in 2015 as a delivery app. Now I know it's much more than just delivery. You do, I'm probably not even going to cover half of it here, but grocery delivery, digital payments, and of course travel booking, probably many other things that you offer. Sounds very much like a super app. Is that how you would describe Rappi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. So I understand you've raised more than $2 billion in funding at this point, more than 30 million users across 350 cities and 9 countries. That's pretty massive in 8 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Talk specifically about Rappi Travel. How big is Rappi Travel? Who are your customers? Give us a sense of what's happening there.
Okay, so what we tried to accomplish in Rappi Travel was to understand if we could convert users that regularly buy food, groceries, car insurance, pet food, pharmacy, as you mentioned, there's several verticals. So the challenge was, can we convert them into travelers too within the ecosystem? Like some of the super apps in China did quite successfully. So what we done this year, well, we launched during COVID, so it was an interesting moment to launch. But eventually, we were able to prove that we could convert those users, adding value prop to different cohorts. Rappi has its own credit card, a Rappi Bank, also a Rappi Prime membership program. So travel was a tool to add value to the different users.
Right.
So during these years, we built the capability, but we also proved that we could convert them, and the volume has grown steadily since launch.
And is it full travel? Like if I'm on there, I can book my flight, my hotel. I mean, give me a sense of the capabilities.
Well, right now you can book flights, hotels, packages, cars, and we were launching soon tours and activities and buses. So it all makes sense. Depending, 350 cities, we have quite a variety of users and needs. So we probably won't launch buses in every city or in every country, but in the cities, in countries like Mexico and Brazil, where buses is very relevant means of transportation, in cities with no airports or with short distances, it will make sense there. So we will continue to add services that make sense to our users.
And I know you announced a partnership with Amadeus last fall. So is that some of what is allowing you to create all of these options then? I mean, give me a little bit of a sense of what you're doing with Amadeus, and then also any other partnerships or connectivity that you have created.
Great. With Amadeus, what we want to accomplish and what they're helping with is trying to leverage the data that we have. There's so much contextual data with location, we know what many of our users like to eat or what they drink or where they open the app. We realize that we have users that each week open the app in a different city, maybe in 2 or 3 cities, so we can infer if they live in one city, if they work in another city. So how can we take all that data and work with our partners and show them, hey, let's create a product together. So we want to be a marketplace, like maybe lots of companies say we want to be a marketplace, but we're different than an OTA. We want to bring brands into Rappi for them to access the best customers possible that they want to reach, and same with users to find the best brands possible. So it's not. I know it sounds cliche, but I met with many hoteliers, and one of their pains was to find their users.
Right.
And I remember one of them came and said, hey, I want to approach users that buy almond milk in Rappi. He has a hotel with a yoga retreat. So they profile their users that basically bought almond milk. It was a very simple, but you cannot get those users in OTAs.
Yeah.
Same thing with hotels that are pet friendly. So where do you find users with pets? Rappi sells dog food, regularly to a big user base. So what we're doing with Amadeus is understanding and leveraging that data with partners and creating products for our users to better convert and be more attractive as a day-to-day tool.
Okay, and so then those supply partners, then you're actually working directly with hotels and with airlines and package tour providers and things?
As a marketplace, we welcome any provider, any partner that adds value to the user. So it could be whether it's a bed bank or hotels directly. We're not maybe going to do deals with all the hotels globally, but maybe in the countries where we're more relevant, in Latin America, probably in those countries we're going to deal directly with hotels. And in some other locations, we'll do it through partnerships, aggregators, bed banks, etc. So same thing with airlines directly, also travel agencies or consolidators. So we're aggregating all that product.
I know we've heard recently about Uber adding flight bookings with Hopper. That's starting to feel very super app-ish there for Uber and they've got the ground transportation in the UK they're testing. Is that potentially a competitor for you? And if not, who might you see as a competitor?
Well, it's a good question. We are not seeing the travel space as competitors. We're part of Rappi. So Rappi Travel is also a tool to bring travel brands into Rappi and be more relevant and be part of more of the customer journey. So let me give you an example with you asked me about partnerships. We just did a partnership with Marriott International. We're going to launch at the end of the year. And the interesting thing is that it's a travel deal where we include distribution and access to very interesting benefits for our users and Vomvo users and Marriott users. But one of the key things is that if you're a Rappi Prime user, you're going to earn Vomvo points by ordering in Rappi.
Oh.
So food, groceries, and even more if you order from the hotel. So the deal, travel is just the door to enter the Rappi ecosystem. So when we talk about competitors, maybe we need to see other ecosystems, not so much just travel initiatives, but we really welcome that new partnership because that also creates awareness that travel can be acquired in new channels. So.
Do as you maybe had referenced, we know, of course, that super apps are very common in Asia. And there's a lot of talk of that. And there's also at the same time talk that, is there ever going to be that kind of uptake in the West? Or is it maybe just a different kind of use case? What do you see as the opportunity in Latin America?
It's a question I'm asked regularly. And we see that some trends for Latin America are more similar to China than the US. Cost of labor, the access to technology. Jumping from not having a computer to having a smartphone directly.
Right.
So adoption of technology is being sped up. So I believe it's happening. Rappi has been growing very, very, very steadily. So I see the trend that we see in China, in the East. I see it happening in Latin America, maybe in a different way than the US. In the US, super apps are more focused maybe on just food and groceries.
Right.
But the urban distribution and labor costs in the US are very different than Latin America.
So would Rappi potentially, are you looking to then expand beyond Latin America? I mean, any longer term vision?
Well, not yet. Not yet. The opportunity for growth in Latin America is still very big. We're still adding more cities and more users. So we're comfortable. We're comfortable here.
Okay, so I do have to ask you about generative AI. It's what everybody's been talking about in these last few months. We're certainly starting to see a lot of the OTAs like Expedia and Trip.com and some others start to look at ways of integrating it into their apps and things. Are you considering anything with the large language models, and if so, how?
Well, definitely. Rappi is an app mainly. Users, more than 90% of the transactions are done through an app. So it really makes sense. We're, like many companies will say, we're looking into it, trying to understand how we can do that. We're like a closed ecosystem, so how can we leverage the data we have to improve that engagement and also the top of the funnel. But at the same time, being a super app with high frequency, we have a lot of challenges in support. So your food can arrive cold, or you have an issue while traveling, or so many things you can do in Rappi.
Right.
So we have to prepare we have to increase our muscles in support. So AI is helping us to improve that experience while behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So if you want to change, in my case, if you want to change a ticket or cancel a reservation, but whether you have a complaint or have a situation with food or groceries delivery. So I think in the short term, we will find more use cases in support and in infrastructure or behind the scenes. But there's a team that does R&D internally, and definitely we'll probably find some interesting use cases to implement.
So if we talk again next year at Phocuswright Europe, you may have a lot more to tell us about that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Well, Guido Becher, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mitra.
Thank you.